Republicans are frankly destroying this state. They have run they've held all statewide offices for more than 2 decades. Last time Democrats held a statewide office, folks, literally, it was more than 20 years ago. With them controlling the governor's mansion, the Texas House, and the Texas State Senate, they've been run amok, passing all kind of crazy laws, including this year's voter suppression law. You see what Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick are doing when it comes to fighting school districts, when it comes to mask mandates. As a result, Matthew Dowd, longtime Republican, who switched his status to independent, says enough is enough. He is running for lieutenant governor as a Democrat. Here's a video he dropped this week.
He's 3 sons and a daughter, and buried a son and daughter far too young in Texas soil. For their sake, and for all Texans, I'm angry. The GOP politicians have failed us, especially the cruel and craven lieutenant governor. Dan Patrick has been lying and deceiving, fracturing the bonds we share and endangering all our lives. He does not believe in the common good. He seeks only to represent himself and the 5% of the state that goes along with all this. He puts his me over our we. With COVID-19 taking thousands of Texans' lives, Dan Patrick didn't respond to it based on science and prevented local officials from doing the things they needed to do to keep their communities safe. And in the aftermath of mass shootings in Texas, he pushed through a bill to make it easier for people to openly carry handguns without a permit or training. And when the electric grid failed here in Texas, he didn't protect us. He shifted the burden of fixing the system on each of us. And with healthcare costs out of control, the Texas Lieutenant Governor waged a culture war, decimating Roe versus Wade and attacking the diversity of our state. And after more Texans voted than ever before, in the most secure election in our history, the Lieutenant Governor attacked voting rights and has made it harder for all Texans to vote. Enough is enough. We need more officials who tell the truth, who believe in public service and common sense with common decency for the common good and the idea of servant leadership. We need to expect more from our politicians and demand those politicians align with our values. Dan Patrick believes in none of those. And that is why I am running for the powerful office of Lieutenant Governor of this great state. It's time we all stood up to Dan Patrick. I hope you'll join with me in this fight. Thank you.
Joining us right now is Matthew Dowd, a former ABC News contributor, analyst there. Also, again, longtime Republican strategist. Matthew, what was it in particular that caused you to say, as somebody who was a behind-the-scenes guy, somebody who staffed and worked for politicians to get them elected, what caused you to say, I got to get in this fight and go after these guys?
Well, Roland, I think that's a great question, and I think we all are in this moment asking us the same question. I know you ask yourself the same question about what can we do to actually save our country and save our state. I would say, I mean, obviously the last 5 years were awful, and as you and I both have spoken out against it and what's happened to it. But January 6th was the moment. I was an independent and became an independent, but January 6th was a moment that was a telling moment to me in the insurrection at the Capitol, and then the Republican response to it. And so that, combined with the legislative session, this legislative session, and the special sessions, that just went at an unrelenting attack on the most vulnerable, on all Texans, but the most vulnerable and historically disenfranchised people directly. The people that have the least power in the system, they actually decided to attack. And so all of that, I came to the place, what can I do? How can I do this? And I thought one of the biggest problems in this today is Dan Patrick. And though Greg Abbott has been an awful governor, Dan Patrick, to me, has been the center of a lot of this stuff that's happened, both on guns, on choice, on voting rights, on not doing actions on things we need. And so It, to me, was a combination of January 6th and then watching what they're doing to our beloved state.
You know, the thing is interesting. You talk about Dan Patrick. I was the managing editor of the Houston Defender, and that was a public affairs show, a Sunday political show that we taped on Fridays that aired on KPRC, Channel 2, the NBC affiliate. And I often would appear on that show as a representative of the Houston Defender when our publisher, Sonny Messiah Giles, couldn't do it. And one of the people who I was debating constantly was Dan Patrick. Now, he used to be a sports anchor in Houston, left the CBS affiliate, then became a conservative radio talk show host, then owned the station. And we would have some vigorous debates, but I will even say then, the Dan Patrick today doesn't even resemble that Dan Patrick. This man is, if there's no other word I can think of than obscene to describe his thinking and his approach to politics in Texas.
Well, I mean, Roland, I think you nailed it. And there's many, as you watch, many of these politicians who we thought we knew or we thought they had a center in some place have completely abandoned it in this moment. And I actually think one of the great things about Donald Trump, or one of the only great things about Donald Trump, is that he's revealed a lot of people's true character. And in times like this, people's characters are revealed, whether that's for the good or for the bad. And I think Dan Patrick has been revealed for who he is and what he cares about. And it's none of us. It's not you. It's not me. It's not the average person walking down the street. It's a tiny segment of Texas that votes in the Republican primary or that funds him through special interests. And every single response to a major issue that he's had, every single response to a major issue has been the exact wrong thing to do. As I mentioned, his response to COVID has been wrong. His response to the electric grid failing has been wrong. His response to a very successful election has been wrong. Every single thing has been wrong, and he consistently goes out of his way to bash folks, bash many different folks, as I said before, the most vulnerable in all state and the people that are actually have the least power in the system. He goes out of his way. And I think, I mean, it's time. And as I said in the video, enough's enough. And we've reached the point. You love Texas, and I love Texas, but I hate what they're doing to our state. And I hope everybody understands that, not only in Texas, but around the country. This has become, which is why it's great to have this conversation, Texas has become the sort of center of what's happening in our country. And if we can beat this back in Texas, then I think it changes the country. But I think Texas is bigger than, as we always claim, bigger than anywhere else. But the fight here is the most centered, biggest fight of all in what they've done. They've taken Donald Trump and taken it to a whole nother extreme in what they've done.
You could, a lot of people, some would say, well, Matthew, you were Republican. I'm quite sure you heard people say you helped contribute to this by electing Republicans. Why don't you run as a Republican? Why run as a Democrat? What caused you to first say, I have to leave this party, and then to say, you know what? I could run as a Republican against him in the primary, but I'm going to run as a Democrat.
So I think I appreciate the question. Great question. And so give people a little history. I ran the last Democratic campaign statewide that won in Texas. Bob Bullock for lieutenant governor. He was the last Democratic lieutenant governor. I ran his campaign. I actually helped the last Democratic governor, Ann Richards, in 1990. And in the course of that time, I met George W. Bush, met him, became friends with him, went to work for him. And then in 2007, for a variety of reasons that have been very public, I came out publicly, very critical, left the Republican Party, blasted George W. Bush over the war and over many other things. And I was done then in 2007 with the Republican Party. 14 years ago, I was done then because I sensed the direction they were going. I became an independent in the course of that. But the last year or last year and a half, I've come to the conclusion that the only vehicle today that's available that is a Democratic, small d, entity is the Democratic Party, because the Republican Party has become an autocratic entity. It is gone. It is done as a constitutional small d Democratic Party. That is over. It is who they are. And so anybody that claims otherwise is either deluded or is fooling themselves in the course of this. And so in my view, the only vehicle to sort of enunciate a program of what you want to do to return our state and our country to a place that we all love is through the Democratic Party in this. And as I said, they're the only vehicle to save our republic. I think in anybody's case, no matter who it is, Liz Cheney or all of these other folks that think somehow they're going to speak truth and somehow it's going to change it, it's not. In my view, Roland, the only way the Republican Party changes, and I wish there was an enlightened Republican Party that had conservative principles that believed in the same values that you and I do. There's not. But the only way they may get back to reality is if they lose up and down the ballot resoundingly. They lose up and down, and maybe, just maybe, it's a chance, maybe just maybe by losing, they'll return to some sense of decency and common sense. Other than that, they're not going to return to decency and common sense.
And when you say lose, I've seen your tweets. You say they must lose everywhere. They can't lose a few races. They need to be brought to their knees.
Yes, from governor to sheriff, from every office, from U.S. Senate all the way down to county commissioner, whether it's in Dallas or Houston or Hayes County where I live here in Wimberley, they need to lose every single office because they need to be held accountable. And even these people that you've talked to and I've talked to that say, well, that's not really me, but I'm going to run as a Republican. Every single person that stands up right now and runs as a Republican is facilitating the problem. That exists. They enable the problem that exists because that's who the Republican Party is. They need to lose resoundingly, and they need to lose everywhere, not just in blue states or purple states. They need to lose in red states.
The one of the things that also just jumps out in terms of what we are seeing. I mean, here was a state that Donald Trump won, and it still called for an audit. And then you have Governor Greg Abbott, as opposed to saying, we're not going to waste taxpayer dollars. No, he said, sure, we're going to audit not the state, the 4 largest counties that happen to be blue.
Yeah, he's auditing Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Collin County, 3 of which Biden won, and 1 of which Biden did overwhelmingly well because of the changing diversity of the county. Where they're auditing is the pockets of the state with the largest amount of peoples of color and the largest amount of states that diversity is fundamentally changing over time. And that's where they're auditing. And to me, Greg Abbott has become completely craven in this, In many ways, Greg Abbott is a very weak person because Donald Trump, says bark, he barks, and Greg Abbott just says, how high should I jump every time he does that? And it shows you where the Republican Party comes from. And to me, they're not leaders. And I always sometimes call them GOP leaders. They're not leaders because what leaders do is leaders speak truth to their supporters. When their supporters are off on the wrong track or people that you're friends with are going the wrong direction, what a leader does is say, wait a sec, that's not right. What we need to do is X, Y, and Z. Greg Abbott doesn't do that at all. And the fact, as I said, that we had the most successful election, the highest turnout in our history, in a state that is the hardest state to vote in the country. We ranked 50th in ease of voting. When in the 90s, when I was doing Democratic campaigns in Texas, we ranked 14th. We ranked 50th in ease of voting today.
Just a couple of more questions for you. In terms of looking at the outlook next year, I just saw a recent poll that showed how President Joe Biden has lost some support among all major Democratic groups. People are frustrated the George Floyd Justice Act hasn't passed, the For the People Act. They're frustrated by Arizona Senator Kristen Sinema, Democrat. They're frustrated by West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin. Are you concerned that in Texas, because there's frustration that Democrats have not done more, that you're going to see depressed turnout? Because again, also Republicans, they control the entire state. What is the key? First of all, you got to win the primary. You do have competition in that. But what do you see as the key for Democrats to actually break the Republican death grip on this state and actually win? What has to happen?
So I think the first thing, and this is something I'm going to do as a strategy, is I'm only going to talk about the Republicans. I have a Democratic primary. I'm not going to talk about my Democratic opponent at all. I'm going to say this race is about Dan Patrick and removing this pariah from office that has so badly damaged our state and so badly hurt people. So one, a singular focus. People need to have a singular focus and understand this. Two, is that we have to be passionate and unrelenting about this. Passionate and unrelenting about this. This idea that you're going to sort of be nuanced and moderate on certain things, and I'm going to be calm, and I don't want to affect somebody. We have to be exceedingly passionate, and we can be passionate on things, and we can be unrelenting on things. But the way to win is do all of that, but also have Texans understand that you're culturally aligned with them, that you root for the same teams as them, that you go to the same places as them, that you love the cafe, that you love the food that they love, that we have to be culturally aligned with folks. And in that way, all of the major issues I'm going to talk about, raising the minimum wage, ensuring that Roe versus Wade is enforced and not underwritten, making sure people can vote, all of those, expanding Medicaid so the most vulnerable and people that are without health insurance have some access to health insurance. All of those things are exceedingly popular among Texans, but it has to be done in a way that people see who I am, see my values, and I'm going to be very passionate about this. I don't believe in the term moderate and all of that. I think those are gone out the window. What we have to do is stand up for who we are, be authentic to it, be passionate about it, and give people a sense of hope of the possible. Give people the sense that we're going to take this fight to them. I think Democrats for too long have not fought and fought and fought hard enough in order to achieve what they need to achieve. They have the legacy that we honor of all the people that came before us, that were beaten on bridges, that were killed, that were all of that. Those are the people that we should be mirroring, not the people that said, well, I was able to reach a deal in subcommittee or whatever it happens to be. We have to mirror the people before us that fought for all of the rights that we enjoy today.
Matthew Dowd joining us live from Wimberley, Texas. Matthew, I appreciate it. Certainly good luck. I'm here. I spoke at the University of Texas at Arlington on Wednesday, been hanging out with family. I was with former Dallas mayor and trade ambassador Ron Kirk. We were playing golf today. And he definitely said he's happy to see you and others get in the race. He said because he wants to see folks do exactly what you said. That is, be passionate and lead and help this state out and get away from the crazy folks who are leading it right now. So we certainly appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll be talking more in the future.
Thanks, Roland. Take care, man.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punching!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on that.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?